Hello everyone and welcome to Daria Draws. Today I have a special treat for you since the figurative painting I'm going to make is not as static as I'm used to, and instead it is going to be a more dynamic composition capturing the essence of a powerful punch. Of course, toning the canvas is the first step that will help me with the drawing and not add too much paint onto the canvas in case I do make mistakes. And I kind of gave myself a little bit of space to make those mistakes and for it to be a little bit more stress-free. Now, regarding the model and the choice of the pose, the whole painting is actually a present for my trainer with whom I do body combat and other group classes at the gym that I go to. So I wanted it to be a very contrasting and a very powerful painting, but I wanted it also to be small so it would be like travel friendly and it's not like a whole huge thing that 4 people need to carry. So I had to kind of stalk his Instagram a little bit and watch a bunch of videos frame by frame to choose the exact moment that I would like to paint. And unfortunately not all of the photos and not all of the screenshots that I've made look good as a painting because they could be a little more closed off in terms of a silhouette. So I wanted something that really did show off a good punch, but also showed the facial expression, so I could work really on the resemblance. So there were a lot of factors that I needed to think about before I actually started the work. And since I'm not very much used to painting like a moving pose and such a dynamic subject, I really needed to make a few sketches and make sure that I did pick the right pose for it. And of course I'm placing most of the body kind of to the left, and so that there's more space on the right. And that's kind of a classical rule where if you're painting a portrait and the subject is looking in a certain direction, so you would leave a little more space on this side so that it doesn't look all clumped up together. And that's the same thing I did. I wanted to kind of crop it. I didn't want to make a full body. I wanted it to be just kind of zoomed in. Again, to get a better look on the arm that is punching and of course the facial expression. So far I'm just using the Mars Brown and Mars Black, a combination of the two for the toning and for the sketching, and I needed it to be a smooth process because I didn't have a lot of time. I only had 2 weeks to complete the painting since I wanted the deadline to be a certain event I attended. So I wanted to create that kind of easy, effortless, sort of alive painting, which looks easy, but it's not exactly easy to create. So here I'm not really adding a lot of color, and the sketching process I feel like is the most important, especially in this work, since it allows me to create a lot of shadows and them still being kind of transparent, but also very active in terms of saturation. And when it comes to resemblance, it doesn't only mean the face has to look like the person. I feel like the whole body should look like the person. So everything from the proportions, because each of us is slightly different from one another, to the way the body moves and the way that arm punches, everything had to be kind of similar to what it is in real life. And of course, I'm lucky enough to have seen the model in real life, so I could somewhat remember what I'm painting, even though the pictures and the reference photos I had were blurred and just not the best material for an artwork. So now I'm just adding a few hints of the values so that when I start working with color, things are a little bit easier for me. And of course, I want to make the punching arm kind of blurred out, very much in motion, because I feel like if I just made it like I did with the other arm, it would look a little bit too static and too posy. But this way it just gives me more life. Now, another challenge with this artwork, apart from it being very small and it had to have a lot of detail, the motion and contrast, we have the tattoos. They're basically separate drawings, but they still follow the shape of the body, the shape of the muscles. So if an arm moves a certain way, that tattoo will move with it. And so I had to create not only the drawing on its own, I had to recreate it how it would potentially look like in a punch like this. Now, once the drawing was in a better shape, I went on to working with the color, and of course I'm starting from kind of mid-tones to shadows, and then I will be moving towards the light as always. And this time I had to kind of go around the tattoos, but also make them a little more three-dimensional with the color. So that was a whole new experience. But it was fun, and even though it was challenging and there was the time pressure, I still enjoyed doing something new. And of course the background had to be red. I feel like it's such a great way to create even more contrast, even a better dynamic in a painting, and all that aggression is just concentrated in that shade of red. Now moving on to the lights, I'm just adding them where obviously they need to be, but they also kind of bring a little more dimension into the figure, and slowly I'm starting to kind of carve out all of the shapes. I did have a bit of a struggle with the punching arm just because I wanted to create a nice like motion blur, but I wasn't sure how exactly I wanted it to look, so I had to experiment there a little bit on the spot, but at the end I think it came out really nice. So for this session, I went in again with the flesh tones. This time they look a little more alive, a little warmer, what an actual skin tone would look like, not how I started it with kind of zombie-ish skin tone. And of course, I'm just making sure all of the forms are blending in nicely, but they're also separated because we do want to see those muscles, we do want to see that structure. And adding also certain sharper edges where they need to be. So yeah, it's just modeling this figure like I would from clay. Another challenge with this artwork, I mean, it's tiny, but there were so many things to think about while working on it, was that the face did not catch a lot of light. As you can see already from the values that I have going on, the most light is caught by the arms, especially the one that is next to the face, and the face didn't catch a lot of light, so I had to make it look contrasting but not too much, so the shadows couldn't be too dark to kind of hide the features, but also I couldn't go in with any punchy lights or highlights because that wouldn't have been believable. Of course, I also needed to add some cooler tones, and I used a bit of green because that's what contrasts with the red. So in the temples and all of the areas where the forms need to be pushed back, I used that kind of cooler green tone. And of course here also the challenge was to create a lot of contrast in the forms and in the skin and in the muscles, but also to make it all look soft because we don't have any of those harsh edges, we don't have any of those harsh transitions in the body in real life. So as I did want it to be a slightly more realistic portrait, I had to really do a thorough job on blending and choosing the right shades to go with each other. And just in case you're curious, yes, my trainer loved the painting. It was the most incredible and sincere reaction I have probably ever seen. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video inspired you to try to do your own dynamic poses, and if you would like to see more content, you can always subscribe to my channel, but if you would like to see more videos right now, you can click on either of those. And I will see you in the next one.